FC, formerly known as FIFA, is a football simulation. And just by this fact, you would assume that it comes close to real-life football. But in fact, FC is closer to chess than to football. And most likely this will hold true for all the other football games which are developed right now. UFL, Goals, just to name a few. In this video I will explain why this is. Before we come to the essence of this video, I briefly want to bring in my personal story. I started playing FIFA with its first version around 1995. Yeah, I'm that old. As a child I always played it a bit, just like other games. But as I was growing up, I didn't become a football fanatic. I'm German, so football is part of our culture and upbringing, as it is in so many countries. So I'm no stranger to football. I played football with my friends, but never in a club. I occasionally went to a match in a stadium and I developed a relationship with my local club, Eintracht Frankfurt, but it never extended to becoming a real football fan. Nowadays I watch like 1 or 2 games per month and follow the news around football, but most likely to be up to date with the influence of these news on FC and Ultimate Team, informs, transfers, etc. There has to be a really special match that I will make it my priority and plan accordingly to watch it. So even though I don't have a deep passion for football, I severely got sucked into the FIFA/FC cosmos, so far that it's now part of my job. How was that possible? What I hear quite often when I talk with you guys is that you have this deep passion for football. You're fans of a club, watch every game. You have your favorite players that you follow religiously and you will fight for their honor and reputation on social media. Hello dear Messi versus Ronaldo GOAT debaters. And since you're so interested in football, you turn to FIFA and FC to also play a game about football. For some of you, this is also the reason that you keep playing, even though you aren't happy with every experience you have playing the game. But I had another motivation to start playing and becoming as good. I started playing FIFA more sincerely with FIFA 11. Back then, and even more today, it's a pretty competitive game and I have a competitive nature. The main game mode is playing 1 versus 1 against another human. And with the right decisions and actions, I can beat most of my opponents. I can improve, I can climb, I can face better players and compete. This is what intrigues me and fuels me to keep playing the game. But then there's also how the game itself works. What you have to do in order to beat the opponent. You have to learn mechanical aspects of the game, understand what works in some situations and what doesn't. And this aspect develops into a lot of decisions that you have to make while playing the game and that you can do better than your opponent. This makes this game so strategic. Maybe this isn't as obvious for everybody, since you look at FC from the football fan's perspective and you see it as a representation of football. But at its core, FC is very strategic in the way you make your decisions. Let's have a look at a concrete example of how this looks in-game. This attack started with me winning the ball with an interception in my own half. I always try to see if I can transition into the attack quite fast, and here there was some space opening on the top, so I turned into this direction and distributed the ball. From here I scanned the pitch and saw 3 teammates that I'm in a good position to pass to, but no one of them was really open to feel comfortable playing the pass. On the other hand, I saw a lot of space on the lower side, so I decided to aggressively switch sides with a low through ball to pick up the pace in the attack. Due to the open space, I was able to gain a lot of ground on the lower side, but I was about to run into a dead end. I noticed the space in front of my attackers in the center, so I ball rolled to the top to get a passing angle. Once again, I didn't feel comfortable continuing with the pass, so I hesitated. In hindsight, I could have found a pass here. After I was not able to create space nor passing angles with my left stick dribbling, by scanning the pitch I understood that I wasn't able to continue here. There were teammates in good positions, but I just wasn't able to get into a position to play a pass. Switching sides can always help in such situations, because as you can see, the opponent heavily overloaded the ball side, a typical pattern in FC 24. I played the switch with the center back, and after I received the ball on the other side, another pitch scan was required and I noticed how the switch of sides didn't get me anything. the opponent was able to shift quickly to the top side, leaving me with no real options to continue here. So I decided to go for an immediate switch back. In contrast to the other switch off sides just before, I was able to play this one much quicker, but also more aggressively as my left back is positioned much more forward. You can already tell before I control the ball that this is a much better situation now. I had two teammates in front of me with somewhat open passing lanes. I played it quite conservatively by just trapping the ball and not playing immediately right after. After a short dribble, my teammates didn't offer me much, but just by waiting a bit, I saw how the pieces now come all together. I can play a pass to my CM and then directly to my winger. From here I wanted to get the ball to my striker, who's in a good position, and I considered two ways. Either just turning to the top to play to him, or turning to the lower side and finding another passing angle in case the opponent anticipates the pass. I decided to turn to the lower side as this was a bit more deceptive, and as hoped my opponent was too aggressive with the positioning and I can play a pass to my striker. With the trap of the ball, I turned to the top to open myself up to my other teammates, and directly I had an open passing lane available. Just another pass and I created the perfect spot to finish this attack. When I show you the entire build-up and attack without all the pauses, you can see how I was able to dissect the opponent by constantly scanning the pitch and considering my options. By this, I come to the conclusion how I can continue with my attack when it's required or helpful to switch sides, etc. At the end, we see a goal which was created just by using the fundamentals, playing safe passes combined with dribblings at the right time. No fancy skill moves. This is enabled by a constant evaluation of options and consideration to which passes to play or dribblings to make, not only in the attack but also in the defense. So with this analysis, you will understand why the comparison to chess isn't as far off. In chess, the player look at the position of the pieces, think about their options and weigh them. How will the board look within the next few moves? How does this impact the chances of winning?
I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to castle. I don't want to think too much.
Similar to this, you have to evaluate the situation on the pitch in FC and think about your options. How likely is that I will be able to connect that pass or that I get past the opponent with that trick? It's a lot about success rates, and these are much more dependent on the game than actual knowledge of football. It's not often that you will think that you'll play this pass with Kevin De Bruyne, so that's why it will work. Or the runner is Vinicius Jr., so no one is going to catch him. It's more about strategic decision making in the way you distribute the ball and lay out your attacks or defensive moves. And this will most likely be true for any other football simulation. While those might look different, have different animations or another way of balancing, at the end it will be video games. And those video games will be played by us in the form that we have to make continuous decisions about which actions to take. So once again, considering all the options, weighing them just like in chess, and not how we play actual football. This is how a video game emulates the experience of real football in a video game. But there's one big difference to chess. While in chess you take turns, in FC both players act at the same time. And this encourages another great component which I find fascinating: getting into the head of my opponent and outplaying them. Make them think and expect one thing to happen, then just do the opposite to drastically improve my position, because they act exactly the way I anticipated. Find a move that the opponents didn't have on their radar and totally surprise them, or just thinking about their options and how I can make it as hard as possible for them to follow their plan. Let's have a look at how those mind games work in-game. I won the possession in midfield, and similar to before, I immediately scanned the pitch to see how I can play forward, and I saw how my opponent was covering the passing lane up top. Counteracting the opponent's behavior is always a strong tool to create chances. Thus, I turned to the other side and started my attack with a simple pass up forward. Shortly before I controlled the ball, I initiated the run of my fullback by pressing L1/LB. A typical pattern now would be to control the ball to the lower side and get myself in a position to play a through ball. But I also recognize that my opponent is controlling the defender behind me. They will also see this potential pass, and I expect them to prioritize the lower side because of that. So instead, in the last second, I decided to do exactly the opposite, controlling the ball to the top to open myself up the passing angle, which wouldn't have been there unless my opponent anticipated for the pass on the lower side. Bang! With a beautiful but simple move, I open up the whole pitch just by outsmarting the opponent. And we do it for a second time in this attack. After I played the pass to my striker, I basically had two options. Either I control the ball to the lower side or to the upper side. The benefit of the upper side is that I could also get my other teammate involved, but instead I go to the lower side. You can clearly see how the initial reaction of my opponent to this situation was to position their center back to the top. With the center back out of position, they don't have a chance to recover from this, make a useless tackle, and I score an easy goal. I scored this goal because of 3 simple decisions. 1. Not play to the upper side with my CDM. Second, controlling the ball to the upper side before playing the through ball, outplaying the anticipation of the opponent. And 3, controlling the ball to the lower side with my striker. This ongoing battle of thinking about options, making the right and better decisions than my opponent is my driving force to not only play FC, but also teach it for over a decade. This is what we do with the guide and the Guide Plus. We want you to understand the fundamentals of the game, how to learn basic or really advanced techniques from the mechanical aspect, but also how to use it to full effect in the game. And how you can understand and analyze the different situations on the pitch, how to weigh the options and come to better decisions. If this sounds intriguing to you and you want to know more, click the icon in the top right corner or the link in the video description, which leads you to the Guide Plus. This is where we go really in depth with our content, not only with single tutorials but structured courses. Along the way, different quiz types help you to test your knowledge and learn more efficiently. If you finally want to understand how FC works, download the app for free and have a look at the Guide Plus. But to close the circle from the initial statement, we aren't teaching you football. Yes, some of it might also be applicable, for example how to not open up gaps defensively, what good positioning is, how you benefit from distributing the ball, etc. But this always has the main priority to make it work in the context of FC and not in football. To get a sense of what we teach, have a look at the video that you can click on the screen right now. It teaches you attacking fundamentals in FC. Thanks for your attention to this rather unusual video. I hope you enjoyed it. This is it from my side. Keep a clean sheet. I'm out.